Posing. Pose. Pose. Cinch the waist.
Hey, aunties. It's Erik from New York. What's brewing today?
Ask your aunties. Family Guilt.
Runwithmod.com.
And what's next for education and technology. So get your cups ready for Minoritea Report.
Hey, community.
How you doing?
How's everyone doing?
Good.
All right.
All right, shimmy it up a little bit. And welcome to all our YouTube subscribers as well. If you haven't already, subscribe below. And I think they say click the bells, just because if you click the bell and we put out a new video, you'll get a notication. So we're learning all kinds of shit on YouTube now. It's cool. So welcome.
And they're finding us. Like,
right?
There's like a whole handful, like 40 some odd people, I think last week had found us and listened to us on YouTube. So that's cool.
So keep it up. Keep it up. We need to get to at least 100 this week. Let's keep these goals going. I know all the other YouTubers are like 100, ew. And we're like, yeah, 100.
I really want to know, like, how people are really listening to us. Like, not if, but like how. So, like, for example, since nobody's driving to work, and I know like not a lot of us, live in areas where you can just walk to everywhere. So like, I just wonder, like, are they kind of putting us in when they're like going for a walk around the park and then listening on their mobile device, or are they putting us on like the TV and watching us as they're like cleaning up or whatever? Like, I would love to know like that detail.
That's true.
I know that's what Ellen does. Like Ellen, who she's a follower. She is always on every episode, sharing us on IG, like just always giving us the love.
Well, you said Ellen. I thought you meant Ellen DeGeneres.
Oh, I wish. Her too.
You said following.
It's like, hey, Ellen.
Right.
Yeah, Ellen from the community.
Like and subscribe, Ellen DeGeneres.
Right. and our Ellen. If you haven't already, girl, subscribe.
Yes. No, but she has though, because she has literally messaged me in a DM and she showed me a video of her watching us now. Because at first, what she was doing is she would play us on her TV. And then, she'd be doing stuff around the house and just listening to us.
Right.
So now that we're on YouTube, she also, she finds herself getting stuck and actually watching us sometimes because she can actually see us, via the video. Now
all Jerrell's animation.
Right. But listen, I mean, we do give them a show. It's not like it's just us on the, on the mic.
Right.
You get a whole little extra something when you watch on TV.
The amount of faces that Jerrell does in an episode is hilarious.
I have yet to watch a YouTube video just
because
really? I don't want to see. I don't want to see. Like, I've watched, snippets here and there, but I already don't like the sound of my own damn voice. So I definitely don't want to see myself on a freaking video.
Oh, girl, it's fun. It's fun.
So, like, if you were an actor. Because I was thinking about this the other day as I was watching an episode, because I was feeling a little conflicted. I was like sitting here watching an episode and Adam walked in and I was like, I slightly felt a little bit embarrassed because like, I didn't want him thinking that like, I'm so much of an egomaniac that I want to watch myself. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's like a legit thought.
That's true.
And, like he came in and he watched it with me for a little bit. And then he left, and I kept watching. And I was just stuck with my thoughts. I'm like, damn, he must think that I'm like, I listened to it on the I listened literally on the podcast, and now I listen to it on, like through YouTube, and I watch it through the TV as well. And it's just, I don't know, it's a
different dynamic.
It really is. So my question, I guess, is like, because I liken this to people that are actors, like, do you watch yourself in the craft? And there are people that are like, yes, I do, because I want to critique, I want to whatever. And then there are others that are like, no, like once it's out there, it's out there, and I don't want to see it. Like, where do you guys fall in that?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm really in the middle because I listen to the podcast again because honestly, y'all, I feel like I black out whenever I'm on the podcast.
Same
like
here.
Some of the stuff that come out of my mouth, I'd be like, did I really say that? Oh my gosh.
Or did we really talk about all that?
Right.
Like, oh my God, did I put all my business out there last week with sex toys? Like, girl. Shit. Like,
I know I did.
I really forget.
Same
and so
here.
like when I listen back to the episodes, I'd be sitting there cracking up. I be screaming because we be shading each other. The one-liners that we be saying.
Dawon got me last week when you said, and you moved up from one emotion to 5 last year or something like that. And I love, because I didn't catch that in the moment that much either. And listening back, so
we were talking about the investment of into the other person, and I was making the comments. You were talking about how you not trying to invest in nobody else, blah blah blah, and I'm like, oh, but they got an earlier version of you.
Right.
Your growth path has been from A to Z.
That's why you said, oh, they got you with 1 emotion. Now you got 5. I was like, damn, he shaded the shit out of him. And for me, like, I almost kind of look at it a different way because, like, I edit the things. So, like, I'm just so in the zone of just editing that I almost don't see us in a way. I'm just like, okay, let me edit, let me get through it and be done with it. And get to the next part of it. So I haven't really sat down outside of the editing to watch it because by the time I edit it, I'm done with it. I'm like, okay, let me move on. I'm over it.
And that's a whole other thing. Like people don't even know the amount of work that you put in to get us to not even the YouTube, but just to the podcast part.
Right. And so like I literally listened through it, editing through the podcast part, listen to it again through the YouTube part, and by that point I'm like, okay, I done heard everything. It cracked up like, all over again, and So I don't know,
every
but
now
it
and
is
then
a
you
little
will
odd.
text us. Every now and then you will text us. You'll be like, "Ooh, bitch!
I can't wait till y'all see this or hear this part." It'd be so funny because, like, I agree. Like, I literally sometimes just black out and not remember what we even talked about. Almost,
Look. Like sometimes, like,
so
hey Will, because sometimes Will will message me because he listened to the podcast too, and he be like, "I can't believe you said this." I'm like, "What'd I say?" And I'd be like, "Huh?" And I'm like, "Hold on, let me go listen back." So then I go like skipping through, trying to be like, "What part are you talking about? What was the subject?" I forgot what it was. Marker? And I'm like, "Oh yeah, you're right. I said that."
Right.
But I said what I said, and all of a sudden I'm back into that character. Like all of a sudden it just comes back to me, and I'm like, now I know what I said, and now you didn't turn me up again. So now you gonna get this too.
That's like those like spies, and I forget what they call it. It's like a sleeper spy. That's what it is. We're like, so it's basically this person that has gone through a certain kind of training, and then they go to their spy mode. So they're like an accountant at some place in some country or whatever, and then at a certain point a word triggers them and it brings all their spy stuff back, so they're out of like they basically forget that they are a spy altogether.
What movie is this?
Have you ever seen Salt with Angelina Jolie?
Oh yeah.
She's a sleeper. She's a sleeper spy.
Okay.
But she's like, she gets picked up by, this is just one of a whole bunch of like spy stuff or whatever. But essentially, my point is, it's a trigger word that takes you right back to that space because you don't remember anything you said and anything that you were doing. And then all of a sudden, like, oh yeah, I was pissed off about that.
Right. Which I guess shows that we're like in the moment, like we're literally listening to what, for the most part, we're listening to each other of what we're saying and trying to give how we're literally feeling right now. It's a point in time, which is awesome. But yeah, there's times where I'm like, I forgot I said that.
Look, for real. But speaking of how you feeling though, how you feeling about Adele's new look?
A mouth agape. I didn't have words. I didn't even know it was her. If it didn't say Adele with the check mark, I wouldn't have known it was her. She could have walked down the street and I would be like, oh, hey girl, your new neighbor. Like,
you look a whole new person.
A whole new
person.
It was funny because I saw the picture on Instagram and I thought it was a friend of mine, like an old co-worker of mine. Her name was Courtney and she lives in Columbus, Ohio. And I was like, oh, okay, she looks good after having them babies. That looks really good. And then I saw the caption and I was like, what?
Right.
Adele?
Yeah. Like I remember at the Grammys this year, and you only saw her once on the screen. I forgot who was performing. I think it was Ariana Grande was performing, but you saw Adele for like a split second, and I said,
Mm-hmm. Was she was in the crowd this year?
Yeah, she was at the crowd this year at the Grammys.
I don't remember.
And it was a split second. There was only one time you saw her. I think it was either the Grammys. I want to say it was the Grammy, not the Oscars. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the Grammys. But yeah, I think it was one of them damn music ones. But she was already pretty much on the skinnier side already. And I was like, okay, go ahead, go for you. All I know is
she should have dropped an album.
Lit. Her album, yes. So her album 30 is supposed to come out in September. Her album is called 30 and it's supposed to come out in September, apparently.
Even though she's 32 now, it's so weird how she does like her when she wrote the album. I'm like, bitch, you like 2 years older than that now.
Right. But all I'm saying is she must have gone through some heartbreak if she then threw herself all into her music and fitness. Like that's I want to embody that real fuck nigga shit. Like you just be like, you know what? I ain't dealing with none of them. Fuck them all.
Revenge body.
You own and a box to the left.
She's like, fuck these niggas all my life. I'm done. I ain't seeing nobody checking for tunnel vision.
You know what she didn't lose? Them titties. Them tits look amazing. Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
Hold on, let me look this up too because
see, I'm a tits guy, so that's why I noticed that. I know
like,
y'all
come on
all
with
about
these
the ass
titties.
and shit, but like, she ain't lose them titties.
Let's see, because I never really thought she had that big of titties. We over here looking.
Let me show is looking.
It's kind of hard to see in that video. I always thought she had pretty hair. Like, here's my issue with the whole thing with just like even Twitter and everybody's reaction is now they're saying, oh, she's stunning now and she's beautiful. I'm like, she was always good looking to me.
Yeah,
she was always a beautiful
she was always
lady.
Stunning.
So it's just like, once again, once a person loses weight, we see this narrative of, oh, now you're beautiful. Mm-hmm. And the kind of almost body shaming part of it comes out and lurking out again, you know? Mm-hmm. And I hope she doesn't, just for her sake, doesn't feel like she has to have the pressure to always look this way now if she wants to ride the roller coaster, which a lot of us do. That's reality.
Kelly Clarkson.
Seriously. Mm-hmm. Kerel, I'm about to almost give up my own government.
You sure did.
Kerel. Auntie Vodka. But it's just like, I hope she doesn't fall into that trap now where it's more about her being skinny than her talent and her songs and her voice and videos.
All I care is about the talent.
Exactly.
Look, she'll be gone with the wind if the vocal cords ain't there quick.
Let that wind from the Hello video come again. Right. She be falling on the ground.
Look, okay. I personally liked her when she was on the bigger side because I just
Big Luther.
Yeah, I just thought she was gorgeous. I thought Adele was already gorgeous from the get-go. Period. I never thought there was an issue with her ever. The only thing that I liked more than the beginning was when she got rid of the bun and then she went down to laying her hair. To me, that was the best thing. That was the best decision she ever made.
I'm with
was
you
between
an
updo and laying it down. That was the only thing that I really cared about.
Yeah.
But I always just thought she looked fabulous. All I care about, look, as long as she's happy and she's doing it for the right reasons and she is happy with it, then cool. But
and
if
hopefully
she's
she
doing
did it like she's healthy. It's not like some sickness or anything like that. It's like it was her choice to do it. And hopefully it wasn't for a man either. Hopefully it wasn't for her husband that like they got a divorce. Hopefully she was like, you know, I have a kid. I want to be around for a while. Let me get my health together now before it gets harder and harder as I get older. You know?
She always seemed to strike me as a really old soul. Somebody that's not, and I don't know a lot about her. I mean, outside of like some of the music and whatnot, but like, you know, she's never struck me as the type of person that got caught up, even, you know, for as popular as she was and still is, and for as many events as she gets, I'm sure gets invited to and things like that. She never struck me as a type of person that just got caught up in that life. You know, like she goes and does the work and then she goes back to her cottage, wherever she lives in the UK, you know, and just like exists and goes to the supermarket and buys her apples and baked pies and shit like that. You know, like in my mind, she has like that kind of life. So, you know, I don't fear the same kind of things that one would fear with someone else losing a lot of weight. Like, oh, they're going to lose all this weight and then lose their damn mind. Next thing you know, so they're going to have like a, I'm thinking about that video with Janet Jackson and and Busta Rhymes where she's dressed up in all that leather gear and whatnot.
Yeah,
that's it.
Gonna make your body scheme. Yeah. I don't know what note that was I just hit.
She is not known for her vocal skills. This one right here. but like in my mind, I don't feel like she's gonna lose her mind and just throw herself all into the sexy thing. I do wonder though about her image, you know, like just from a marketing perspective, because, you know, like people are drawn to her really kind of like, I want to say soulful, and I don't mean soulful in like the, you know, Black Power soulful, but like because it's so, it comes from like the core of her being.
It's
the
real.
hurt, the pain.
There's a realness to it that she embodies when she sings. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting just to see like, you know, like how this shows up and how she's represented, like what her, you know, if she, well, I mean, we're damn near, we're on lockdown, so she ain't going nowhere anytime soon. But like, I'm thinking about like photo shoots and like what's gonna be on her album cover and like all that kind of stuff. Like, I feel like she'll stay away from like changing dramatically, even though her size has changed.
Right.
I think the thing that makes me a little worried for her is the fact being like, because she now has Hollywood raised the bar, you know, to you know, to the industry standards. Now, if she ever slips, she's gonna be scrutinized and whatnot for that. So now I feel like she's kind of put herself, like she's backed herself almost in a corner almost, because now people be like, oh, well, now that you're skinny, you don't ever need to look like that again, you know?
Right.
And I hate that people get, you know, caught up on the fact of like, because you look a certain kind of way, that means you're happiness or you're good or whatever. Like, you don't really see what's going on behind closed doors. Like, she could just be in a very happy place right now, and she just has the time, the energy to invest in herself like this. And she may just be in a better place, whereas before she wasn't. Or maybe she was then, and it just wasn't her focus. Like, people change, and I hate that we get to this point where we look at someone's body and we see a change, a skinnier change or weight loss, and be like, oh, so now you got time. You know, what would you do? And like, you start questioning a person before they, you know, I really just dislike that, because people can come in all shapes and sizes and be healthier than the next person to the next that don't even look like them. Because I've seen skinny people fall over from a heart attack. You know, I've seen, you know, bigger people than like, your body weight and how you look and your body size, only you know. And so live how you want to live.
And love the body you're in. Love it.
Absolutely.
Because people are going to scrutinize it nonetheless. They scrutinized her when she was bigger. They're going to scrutinize her when she's skinnier. They're going to scrutinize her if they don't like the song. They're going to blame it on the weight loss, like they did Big Luther and Skinny Luther. Like, and so it's just like, my only thing is like,
but I mean, the Skinny Luther sounded different though.
He kind of did though.
I'm not gonna lie.
It's like we needed that heft.
Yeah,
we needed that heft behind that voice.
You needed the weight behind the vocal cords to like, you know, help it.
It's not a home.
Yeah,
he said a chair is not a chair if nobody there.
Yeah, I don't know. I pray for her, you know, and I just hope that everything works out and that she's just happy and healthy.
And if she's happy that she doesn't have the MJB effect, the Mary J. Blige effect, because everybody liked the old Mary J. Blige when she was going through some shit, and they don't like the new Mary J. Blige because she's happy.
Look. She told us she was just fine,
right?
And then she just kept being fine, and people are like, what?
Like, why are you fine? Why are you
like,
okay?
Nah. Like, I mean, and that's why when she got the last divorce, everyone knew it was like, she just got divorced, y'all. This album about to be lit.
So I hope it's not like that for her. Then I hope they do that.
But
that
I ain't gonna lie,
low-key,
that was me too, though. Low-key,
that was me. Everybody was.
I was like, oh, she got divorced. Oh, and she got to pay that nigga money back. Oh, damn.
This album about to be it.
And it was good. It was.
It was a very good album. It was slept on still though. But it was a good album.
It was a little slept on, for sure.
Leave Adele alone.
But before we get too far, let's thank Erik for bringing us in with the intro today.
Hey, Erik.
Hey, boo. Thank you so much for bringing us in.
Erik and I got to spend some time together last weekend. We actually had him over to our rooftop and had a little get together, and we enjoyed some 70-degree weather, 70, almost 80-degree weather. And it was a nice change for here in New York. And now it's back to 50s and dreary and all that shit. But Erik had just moved from San Diego to New York, literally not even a week. He moved here, I think, on Thursday or Friday before we went on lockdown.
That's tough.
So we had been on lockdown this entire time. And that was literally the first time that I had seen him. And he literally lives 30 blocks 30 to 40 blocks like that way. So, yeah.
That sucks to like move to New York City and have to stay your ass in the crib.
Wait, but this isn't her first time in New York, is it though?
No, this is her second. So
that's what I thought.
Yeah, so
she's Jenny from the block, okay?
Right.
Love you, Erik. I'm just kidding, girl.
I'm just Erik from the block. Hey, Erik. I just saw like a picture from that I forgot about of Erik and it was like a few of us, and I forget where we were eating at, and it popped up on my memories.
Probably Burke's.
No. It wasn't Burke's. It was somewhere in Lincoln Park. And I forget all the names of the restaurants now. But it came up on my memories like 2-3 weeks ago. I was like, damn, I forgot about this picture. And damn, what restaurant was that? Hey, Erik. Hey, girl.
Yeah, I know. It's funny because when she was on for the wig party, and I was like, girl, I ain't seen you in probably about it's probably been almost like a decade, or if not like 8 years since I've seen him, because I knew Erik from when he lived in Minneapolis.
Wow.
And so we had like some of the same mutual friends, and so we would go to some of the same parties, some of the bars, and hang out and stuff like that too. So awesome. No, it was super cool. And then that's when Dawon had said he knew. I was like, wait. I was like, what? I was like, oh,
that community is only that big.
Right.
Look, it really is.
Small.
It really is.
Especially that gay community. Come on now.
Look, speaking of, how about these motherfuckers in New York and New Jersey, like hanging out all over the fucking place, not social distancing, honey?
You mean in public?
In public. In public.
And getting masked from cops. That part.
But yeah, we got black men getting knees in the back and shoulders to the neck, just stepping outside their homes to get some fresh air, not walking about all in the middle of a park in the middle of somewhere in New York. No, literally on their blocks outside of their fucking house, still getting arrested and tased and all sorts of shit. Like,
I will say,
fucked up.
I will say that I live in Harlem and there's a park right over there. And it's filled with a whole bunch of black and brown people. And the police come out over here and they give masks.
Do they? Okay.
Yes, they do. So it's not everywhere. I just want to put that out there that yes, it does happen, but not everywhere, especially in New York. Look, they're being nice to us. So
well, I'm gonna need them to do like a fucking workshop for the rest of these motherfuckers out here that don't know how to act right. Okay?
that video, there was that video that surfaced. I think it was last week by the time this airs, of that police officer dragging that guy down to the ground and all that. And it's sad in and of itself, but apparently there was a report that also came out just today, specifically about that one police officer who's now cost the city, I think it was like $178,000 in legal fees that they had to pay out to people because of false arrest, because of use of excessive force, and there's like a couple of other, things going on. So this one particular guy that's been kind of circulating in this video, like him dragging the person down to the ground, this guy has been problematic. This one guy has been problematic. I don't
understand how you keep your job. Like if we did that in our job.
The unions, the police unions, they have a lot of power.
But you would even think the union wouldn't want that dude in there because it's costing them money too. Like at the end of the day, you would think coins and cents works everywhere in this world, it seems like, except the police union. Like it comes to dollars and cents so much in this world, yet here's a dude that's $200K, especially right now when there's 30 million people unemployed.
Yeah.
You would think, like, you know what, you're costing us too much money right now, get your ass gone. But no,
the union lobby is strong, and it's not just in New York. It's like that's everywhere. True. The union lobby, they lobby real hard to protect, the police officers. And in part, a lot of it's with it's good intentions, so that they don't have trumped up charges being forced on police officers because of, whatever. But a lot of times, because of these measures that are in place, it actually prevents the actual prosecution of these police officers that are like going in and shooting people and killing people, and they're getting away with it.
And you would think there would be like a threshold, at least in these contracts and these unions, be like, hey, once you hit $200K of just lawyer fees and shit, I'm sorry. There ain't shit we could do for you because clearly you're the issue.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like that is, if I was like the president or whatever the board of these unions, I would try to find a way in there just because the optics aren't good. Because like you said, unions for the most part are actually there to aid and help situations. Because like growing up in Michigan, the auto industry is all unionized. So I grew up around union all day, every day. So I get it. But there are still people that take advantage of it.
100%.
Clearly, he's one of them that's currently taking advantage of it. And we need to have something in here that says, yo, ass is out.
Well, look, it's the same thing with like our military. You know, think about all the crimes that have happened. You know, they get brushed under the rug because, you know, like they have people that are protecting them, and you know, it's not right. Like you aren't exempt from, you know, from the laws of the land. You know, but at the same point in time, is if you have processes and protocols in place, you have to work within the system until you have, you know, some kind of reform that forces that to happen. So hopefully, you know, come November, we'll have a new president, and come, you know, like next year, we'll have some real and actionable reform that's happening in our penal system, that's happening with our police system, that's happening in our military, you know, that will help make these situations be a thing of the past.
And I'm glad
I don't know, as long as there's privilege, like whether it's white or you're a police officer or you're in the military or something like that, like there's always going to be that power difference, and there's always going to be that person that abuses that said power. Yeah, exactly. So I think the point that we need to do is just, I think it really just boils down to equality. And it was something that Kerel spoke on last week, and that really hit hard. Like, until it's fair for everybody, there's always going to be these injustices. It's always going to be, you know, someone up here and then someone down here until it's fair. You know,
that's why representation matters. You have to have, it's not just about being seen. You have to have a seat at the table. You have to have a voice in what's happening within, you know, your local jurisdictions, within the world around you. And if you're not being active, then, you know, you have to suffer the consequences.
Well, I mean, and it's true because, like, I mean, yes, representation matters, but we also know there are some people who are of color that don't represent the rest of us. That are, you know, that
so the right representation matters.
You know, exactly, the right representation matters. You know, and it's those who don't just sit by and be like, oh, I'm on this board, or oh, I have I have some power, so I did something. That's not doing enough. It's using your voice and actually using your platform that really makes a difference. So it's not just about voting. It's not just about voting people in that look like you. It's about voting the people that look like you and are going to do the work and have your interests at heart. Because some people honestly, out there, they will deceive you. They will con the fuck out of you to get a vote, and then they will switch up on you and do absolutely shit. So you got to really do your homework when it comes to these elections, and you got to vet these candidates, and you got to let not just their words but their actions as well speak the volumes too.
And make sure you're registered to vote, by the way, because a lot of deadlines for the November election to make sure that you're in the registration. The deadlines are coming up. I know Georgia is May 11th. So whenever does this episode come out?
That's Monday on the 11th.
So Monday. So today.
11th,
so if you are not registered, you have till the end of today to be registered in the state.
And in Georgia, you can register online.
It's so easy. Like, I double checked Corey and I again because they've been purging people out of the registration. So that's another thing is, like, you want to make sure you're going in there and making sure, like, especially if you just moved. So like Dawon, you moved within the last year. You might want to double check because they're literally purging.
Oh, she registered.
I know that's right. Because they're literally purging.
I registered myself and my partner.
I know
like,
that's
I ain't messing around. We both, if I'm going down this path, you going down this path.
I checked mine and I was like, okay, Corey,
exactly.
But that's the crazy thing. They're literally purging people out of these systems.
Yeah.
Especially in Georgia's just messed up all the way right now. But it's just like,
y'all needed Stacey Abrams. Y'all needed to fight for her.
We needed her so bad.
And you know what?
She only lost by like 70,000 votes.
But Kemp, he rigged that election. Everyone knows that election was fucking rigged. Like,
because he was a lieutenant,
governor beforehand.
Right. And he was in charge. He was in charge of voting.
Yep, and in charge of voting. So yeah, that's just great to begin with. Y'all should have been in much better hands right now.
Girl.
But we know that Stacey and Keisha up in there, like being like, we're gonna protect ours up in Atlanta.
Right. I'm loving Keisha right now. Keisha's profile,
look, for real,
heightened right now. She's like, I'm gonna get on all these talk shows. I'm gonna have this little old school Monica swoop.
Okay.
It's one of
and
them
I'm gonna get it right. I'm gonna get on here
one of them bangs.
She said, I'm gonna sit in this office right here and tell you that I ain't messing around. Stay your ass at home.
And I love that she keep posting like the new like numbers and everything. Yeah. She like, I'm not lying to y'all. Like here y'all are. Like I can't say nothing because homeboy, because the governor didn't even go to any of the mayors, of the cities. No. He just did this on his own. So now like the mayors are trying to like do damage control for what he now has done to everyone in the state of Georgia.
Like even Albany, Georgia right now, they're telling everyone do not open. They're like, we don't care what the governor says, because Albany, Georgia is where they had the hotbed of coronavirus right there with New York City, and New Orleans. And that's where my uncle was that was in the hospital. He lives down in that area. So that's where he was when he got sick. And to this day, they're like, we are not reopening because we're still a hotbed. And the percentages are so much higher here. In that city as well, Albany, Georgia is like 60% Black or something like that. Some crazy high number. So it's affecting our community. So I'm glad they're saying.
Is Georgia a traditionally blue state or red state?
Red state.
Red girl.
Red state.
Okay. Because I know that there's a concentration in Atlanta, but that's the concentration.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
So it'll be really interesting to see what happens over the next, between now and November with all the shit that's going down and all the people that are getting sick
and even within Atlanta,
opening up early
because even within Atlanta, you have like what they call in the perimeter and outside the perimeter, and even the second you get around like 285 that circles the city, that's even red. So it's just literally inside. I don't even know the radius, maybe a 20-mile radius, if that, around the city. That's blue. It's like a polka dot.
And it's funny, like you can like as soon as you get outside of the city, like it gets rural kind of quick. Outside Atlanta.
Like that's how it is in Ohio. Quick. That's how it is in the Midwest. Let's put it that way.
That's true. Yeah, it's very much like that. It's very.
You drive outside of St. Paul, and it's like cornfields. You drive outside of Chicago, literally 15 minutes outside of Chicago.
You like, where am I at?
You'd be like, did that bitch just move me? She just moved me? What the fuck?
Dude, they got like balls hanging out
California from over here.
Right. They got balls hanging from the back of their cars and shit.
Yeah, right. She said cow tipping. The fuck? No, ma'am.
I mean, that's where I grew up, though. I can't even lie. I grew up in small town Michigan. So it's just like, that's why, like, in a way, the older I get, I'm glad I had that perspective where I grew up. Because a lot of times people think that we don't know what we're talking about or we haven't experienced this stuff. It's like, no, this is where we came from. Like, we've seen it with our own eyes and been through it.
Grew up in it. And got the hell out.
Right. So it's just like, I get the perspective. I get the thought process and the mentality because I grew up in it. I understand it. But it doesn't mean that all of it is correct. They have a tainted view or a slighted view because they haven't gotten out of that situation. Right, wrong, or indifferent, but it's just like until you kind of get up and out and experience different areas and different peoples and different dynamics, it's hard to see the other side for some of the people that grew up in those areas because all they know is I'm hurting now here where I'm at, and it's like, I get it.
That's going to actually, this is going to tie a little bit to our Ask Your Auntie questions a little bit later in the episode, which will be interesting.
Well, I think it's actually next, right? I think it's actually next.
I didn't mean to stop the conversation.
Come on, segue. Look. When the legs open, girl, you know what time it is.
You must proceed.
Okay. Yes, indeed.
Right. What time is it then, girls?
Ask yo auntie. I don't know what I'm dancing to right now.
What's that? What's that?
Hey.
What's that? Hey. All right, what's the Ask Your Auntie?
All right, I got it here. This is from our girl, well, not real girl, but like, guy girl.
Hey, girl.
It's from Danielle.
Hey, guy girl.
Hey, guy girl.
Hey, guy.
It's from Danielle from Seattle. And Danielle asks, he actually sent us a couple questions, but the one we're going to answer today is, how do you reconcile your desire to move to a new city for new experience in your 20s and 30s with the desire to stay near your aging parents who may need your help, like emotional, medical, etc.? How do you deal with that sense of guilt for dipping out on your family?
Well, personally, well, first I'm gonna say thanks for the question, and I know he gonna give me shit if I don't correct you. It's Danielle.
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 Oh, I said Danielle.
Yes.
Danielle.
Danielle, I got you, girl. Don't worry.
I said Danielle, like the girl.
He said, get my name right.
Model that had the gap. That was Danielle.
Right.
Danielle.
Like, get my name right. And hopefully you're feeling better too.
Danielle, I'm sorry.
Yes, hope you feeling better too, boo.
Yeah.
But for me, I don't know. Like it's hard because I'm the oldest of all my siblings, and so I feel like that responsibility of having to take care of my parents. However, my coming out did not make my connection with them stronger. It kind of made it a little worse. So they're closer to my other siblings than they are to me. So I said,
well, coming out or you're moving out? No,
me coming out.
You coming out?
Yeah, me coming out.
It's Diana Ross moment.
Right. So like, I guess I never really felt the need to be like, well, I don't owe you nothing. Like, and because I mean, here's the thing. Like, I know part of the community, like, and especially for like the Black community, is like you take care of your elders and you always respect them and stuff like that. But I've kind of really gotten away from that traditional way of thinking. Like, you give me respect, you get respect. And so because my parents didn't do a good job of giving that to me, like there's ground that needs to be made up before I can even feel responsible enough to take care for them or want to do that. That's just my truth. So they need to go to their favorite child, which is not me, and then they will take care of them. And
so you don't have that guilt.
I don't have that guilt, not one bit. However, I know that it's a big burden. And so what I would do is just help my sibling that will be the one that's more inclined. Because like, for instance, my sister Ro, her and my mother are best friends. They've always, like, even as kids, like my mother, daughter, like they always just had a bond that I could never get, close to my mother with. So like, if anything happens to my mom, my sister's going to be the one that's going to be all on top of it. She's going to be way more hurt than I am. And so for me, I know my role would be more of the supporting sibling and just making sure that my sister is okay and handle my stuff on the sideline, so that way my sister can do what she needs to do for that. Same thing with my brother, Sazy. Like, he's the one that's closer to my father. So I don't know. It's not for me. I'm not there.
Right.
She said deuces.
Right. Deuces.
I like, don't get me wrong. Like, I love my parents. I'm like, I wouldn't be here today without them, but I don't have that guilt just because, I turned 18 and I had to do so much of my shit on my own without the love and support of them. Like,
yeah.
What about you, Kerel?
It's something like Jerrell, I'm the oldest, and just even within my family, a lot of folks look to me for figuring things out. And like, my dad is that for like his siblings and his aunts and uncles. And honestly, I'm probably it for my sister and brother. And honestly, I'm like the executor of the will and things like that. So it's stuff that always comes to my mind, especially now that I'm farther away. Like, when I
the executive.
Yeah, so it's just like there's a burden and a thing that comes upon you, like making sure that you do right for your parents, I guess, in a weird way. Mm-hmm. And for me now, living in Atlanta, like living in Chicago, I could get home a lot more. Like, it was 5-hour drive. Cool, I'm home more often. Now, yes, I could fly, but it's just more money and things like that. So it's something I've thought about as they get older, and luckily they're in good health and like that. So I'm blessed in that regard. But it's just like, it's something long term that I've thought about, that I'm just like, okay, where is Atlanta it? Like, am I here forever? Just because, like, I have a family now. Like, I have my husband and things like that to look out and look after as well.
And your fur baby.
And my fur baby, Tucker, the mother effer. Or Trinity the Tuck Man is what we really call him. That's his IG handle. So it's something that comes in my mind. Luckily, my brother's still up there, and he's just as protective of my parents as I am. Like, probably even more so. So he's the one always checking in on them, be like, did you lock your door? Did you do it? Like, he's on them, and it's hilarious. So I know, like, they're in good hands with him there. But it is something that I think about just long term, just as they get older, do I want to be closer? And then if I do, where would I live? Because I don't foresee myself ever living in Michigan again. Like,
yeah, I can't go back to the Midwest.
Like if I were to go back to the Midwest, it would be back to Chicago. Like, it would have to be a big city like that.
Yeah.
Fact.
Where at least, okay, I'm still close enough. I can drive home if I need to, but at least I still have that bigger city life and that quality of life that I want for my life, which my parents are very good about that, especially my dad. He's good about saying, live your life. Like, we got the opportunity to live ours, live yours. Yes, it's nice to have you around. It's nice to have you look out for us, but he's very aware of that burden because I think he had that burden all his life as well. So we speak a mutual language where he gets that burden of everybody wanting to know Kerel's opinion, or, oh, we know Kerel's going to have a good idea for it, or Kerel will be able to figure it out, or Kerel, you know, he was that for his family. So he's very hyper aware to try not to put
was your
too
dad
much
the
on
oldest too? Is your dad the oldest too?
He was the middle child. There were 7 kids, but he said they all, like, even his grandma looked at him as like that guy, and his siblings and his mom and his dad and his like everyone to this day.
And I feel bad saying what I said because that's how my family looks at me. Like, my mom has already told me, like, you know, where she wants to be buried, which is next to her mother. You know, the song she once played at her funeral. You know, she talks to me about her life insurance policies and, you know, her will. And I'm, you know, like, I'm an executive on the will and stuff like that too. Like, I know all this stuff. However, when it comes to taking care of them, I just, they know, I know they know that that's not me.
Right.
You know, because, you know, her and emotions. No, it's a no. Okay. But when it comes to like getting things done, you know, like, they know that I will make sure that everyone is taken care of, everything is taken care of, and everything will be done.
So I guess almost to answer his question though, at the end of the day, you got to live your life, but have the conversations with your parents, because maybe they don't want you to have that burden, you know, and a lot of times we place that burden upon ourselves. And our parents are fine. They're like, live your life. But there's always a way to figure out how to get back home when you need to be there, if they're in a situation or they're struggling. There's ways to talk to your employers and be like, hey, this is my situation right now. What are my options? Once again, it's just being open and communicating what the needs are and what you need. But I wouldn't put too much more pressure on yourself, because you're not going to be happy. If going back home already gives you this anxiety about doing it, have that conversation, because it's just going to lead up to resentment almost, honestly, throughout the whole situation.
What about you, Dawon?
I think there's another kind of like layer that I don't think the three of us really have in terms of our own personal experience. And I don't know Daniel as much as you do, but I'm assuming that he is, you know, probably second or third generation American. I'm making that assumption. Is that a fair assumption? Second or third?
I think so. Yeah, I think he's like first or second generation.
Okay. And the reason that's important is because when you, from what I understand and talking with my friends who are first, second, third, who have families that were not institutionally established here.
Absolutely.
There are cultural norms that we don't have here in the United States. Like, you know, the oldest male child has certain responsibilities financially, emotionally, spiritually, namely, like in carrying on the name of the family and all that we don't have as much in, particularly in our experience, our Black American experience. You know, and that brings a whole other element of pressure and guilt that is external. It's cultural, it's embedded, it's part of who you are. So like there's like this religious factor. I don't know if this is coming from religion, but there's like this religious factor, but more importantly, there's this cultural factor that adds a lot of pressure, which is why I'm assuming that is the basis for this conversation, and less of, you know, hey, I'm just like getting ready to move on, but I'm feeling a little bit of guilty. And it's like, it's a little bit more than, you know, like, oh, I'm just deciding to like move across state lines. Right. It's more of like, you know, in my culture, there is an expectation of, you know, like what I'm supposed to do and how I'm supposed to show up. And, you know, I say all that as just to provide context, because I agree with both of you guys are saying in terms of like, you know, I think that when you're in your 20s, when you're in your 30s, however old you are, if you're in a position where you have the ability to move out and explore life on your own terms, that is one of the best gifts that you can give yourself.
Absolutely.
If you are able to do it. And that doesn't mean that the guilt goes away. It just means you have to deal with it. Yep. And dealing with it, in my opinion, you know, and again, this is not like, you know, I'm not an expert in this culturally, but dealing with it for me really just means that you have to figure out for you specifically how you're going to handle that. Does that mean that you put it off for a couple of years until your aging grandparents are settled or other arrangements are made? Or, you know, do you reconcile in your head that, you know, you want to move away to have that experience, but you know that, you know, once a quarter or more often or less often, you're going to be flying back to take care of, or, you know, you're going to move away knowing that at any given moment, you're going to get that phone call from your parents or from others saying, we need you to come back home. You know, and in my view, as long as you have that understanding that that's going to be the reality and you're okay with it, you know, I still encourage you to go ahead and move on, because at the end of the day, not going somewhere, aging grandparents could be here for like, you know, another 30 years. You know, I don't know what their health condition is, but at the end of the day, you know, putting your life on hold, you know, there is a decision that you have to make one way or the other. You're going to have to deal with the consequences one way or the other. So you either make the leap to explore life on your own terms and reconcile what does that mean for you in terms of coming back and being available and accessible to your family that needs you, or you make the decision to stay where you are and deal with the guilt of not going away. One way or the other, you're going to have a decision you're going to have to make, and there's going to be guilt on one side or the other that you're just going to have to reconcile. And my advice would be, if you're able to, invest in yourself. Invest in yourself, move away, have that experience, grow, and then, you know, work with your family on what does that mean for how you can be available should and when they need you.
Yeah, I think it comes around to balance. Probably, especially when it comes to the emotional side, because you can easily talk yourself one way, you can talk yourself the other way very easily. Whether it's, I'm going to love myself, and then you end up missing out on the family, or I'm going to do for my family, and you end up missing out for yourself. On both sides. Right, exactly. 100%. So I think it boils down to finding more so the emotional balance, as far as how far is too far where you feel disconnected, and how close is too close where you don't feel like you're getting to live the life that you want to live, that you know, what it really also boils down to as well is time. Like, no one can predict the future and no one can control time. So you could be staying at home and what you're thinking about can come in 5 years, or it can come in 50 years.
Right.
You know, so you're planning for something or thinking about something where you have zero control of when that day may come or how that may even come about. And so if you're planning on what could have been or what might be, you could be missing out on something that could have been by you simply living your life. So I think find the emotional balance first. And I think you'll find the way to make the decisions that help you feel like you're not being torn in two different directions.
Yeah, I would challenge you to think about what guilt do you want to deal with? Do you want to deal with the guilt of moving away and not being as much available for your aging grandparents? Or do you want to deal with the guilt of staying and having potentially resentment for not being able to move away?
Well, see, I wouldn't even look at it as a guilt, because that's negative. Happen. But I wouldn't even look at it as far as guilt, because then you could end up, because it's more of a negative thing. I would think as far as what feels more positive for you. What would bring more joy in your life? Will you get more joy doing this, or would you get more joy doing that? Because if you focus on the negative, like I just said, you can talk yourself out of any goddamn thing. If you become a worrywart, like if that's all you're thinking about is being hurt, then you're not going to get anywhere. Think about the positivity that of your decisions and how that may bring more joy to your life. Because you might find joy in one of them.
Like, is he putting the pressure or dipping out on himself, or is it his parents putting that pressure on him? Like, and I think he probably needs to figure that out too, because if it's you putting that pressure on yourself, you might be putting unneeded pressure that's not even there, honestly. Or if it's truly there, maybe that's your answer. Like, because you said you have this longing desire to stay there. So if that's a longing desire you have, okay, stay there and then figure out how you could travel more in your spare time and see the different cities and hang with different friends. Hey, come to Atlanta. I'm down here. You're welcome to stay here. Go, go back to Seattle and see Jerrell. Go to New York and see Dawon. Like, maybe that's the way to counterbalance it on the other side of it. Because if you have this desire, and if you're the one that's truly already putting this pressure on yourself, that's your answer, honestly. Like, you're trying to run away from that answer because you have this longing desire to do it. So just deal with it then. Like, don't get mad at yourself because, like, that's your desire. Jerrell said, be positive about it now. Okay, like, your gut's telling you, I need to stay here. Okay, but then you still have another slightly less desire to live in different places. Travel for a while. Like, if your parents are already at the age where they're already sick, maybe that's the answer. It's just like, yeah, stay there for the next 5-10 years. Yes, it'd be cool to live in New York City. Yes, it'd be cool to live in LA or whatever.
But New York ain't going nowhere.
It's going to always be there,
I'm going back to the original question. Like, how do you deal with that sense of guilt for dipping out in your family?
Okay. So like, I would say then. Go ahead, baby. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
If I'm going back to that question, but if I'm going back to the question, in my opinion, I think that you have to think about what's in it for you, and at the end of the day, what every parent, what every family wants is for the children that come under them to thrive and to make a better life for themselves and their potential family. So, I kind of go back to kind of what Jerrell was talking about of shifting the perspective away from, it's not about guilt for dipping out, but it's more about an investment in yourself and what you can do for your future, for your family, but then also the family that you will ultimately build, however that ends up looking for yourself. Your parents, your grandparents, everybody wants you to be happy, healthy, and thriving in life. And so you have to figure out what are going to be the ways that allow you to do that in the best way that's authentic for you. And if dipping out is your way to get there, then you're really living up to that. You're really living up to, what your parents and your family really want for you, which is to thrive. If you're viewing this dipping out as you abandoning your family, the reality of it is, and we're seeing this day in and day out, none of us can leave our apartments or our homes or whatever for barely, but we're not living the kind of lives. But what we found is a way to stay connected. And so with today's technology and things like that, you have ways to stay connected, deeply connected with your family that allow you to still be, so that allow you to not necessarily have that sense of dipping out because you're still connected. You may not be physically there, but you can be there visually. You can be there emotionally. You can make time to be in the main experiences that your family is having, whether that is virtually or not. But like that while context, also pursuing your dreams.
But like that context that you said before you said your answer, I think we got to make sure that we keep in mind that there are certain cultures, that there are certain ways to act, and people do get disowned. Like,
it's true.
I like, for instance, like I know, like I have a lot of Hmong friends. Like growing up in my high school, like we were diverse as fuck, and we were in the hood, but it was blacks, it was Native Americans, and it was Hmongs. Like white people were the minority in my school.
You said okay. Hmongs?
Hmong, like, which is like another type. They're Asian as well. Don't want to go into the history of that, but they used to have their own country. They used to have, it's called Hmong, and they used to have their own country. But then there was a war, and I forget what country took over theirs. But then they all migrated to the U.S. and most of them migrated to Minnesota.
Okay. There was probably an asylum that Minnesota had just with like the Somalian population, because Minnesota has a huge Somalian population.
Yes. So, but what I was saying is, like, I've seen like even in school, like, and I graduated in class of 2006. Like, I had classmates that were in arranged marriages. Like, they were married junior year in high school because there are certain traditions, that families, cultures just they don't break on, And so I don't want to discredit that because I'm pretty sure, like you said earlier, I think that's probably where the guilt is coming from. Mm-hmm. Something less than what we can, something that we just don't understand being, our roots being so embedded into the American culture, But I will also say, when you're looking at the positive side of things, think about the possibility of changing something for your culture, being the first to now change the focus and opening a door for others who may struggle in something similar that you're going through. Guess what? Now you go through this, and now someone else in your family that may be feeling this now is encouraged by your decision, or also just maybe talking to like a cousin who may feel the same way about their parents, if your parents have siblings, like if it's really about your parents and you have relatives, I'm pretty sure you got a cousin or two that understands that same feeling too. And then you might find some comfort in talking with them and being like, so what do we do? And maybe y'all make a pack and y'all just start, okay, well, this is what we want our generation to look like, and we're going to open the window and shape the next generation to look like this.
Either decision is going to be hard. So, but that's a great question. And honestly, a lot of us are going through it. A lot of us are thinking about it. A lot of us have dealt with it, kind of thing. So,
some people have.
Yeah, and I would say follow up with us. Let us know like how if this advice helped at all, even if it's just the thought of it and it's helped ease some of the guilt with, kind of where you're landing in terms of your decision making. It would be great to know.
Maybe he just finally vocalize it. He's held this in for so long. Be like, let me ask my aunties and see what they say. Finally get off your chest, honestly. And
I tell you what,
is that
like I left. I moved away from college, but it was like 40 minutes away. But I lived on campus, and then I lived off campus when I wasn't living on campus for a long time. And then I moved back home for the last year, and then I moved away to Columbus, Ohio. So that was like a couple of hours away, and it was real separation in my mind. And I tell you what, that investment in just being away from like that family knit and being able to make it on my own, figure out who I was. I was also coming out at that point, and there was just so much stuff happening in my life that for me, that was like, I learned so much about myself. I learned how resilient I could be, how resourceful I could be, what was important to me, what was important in the relationships. Like there was so much that I got out of that experience. And I would encourage anyone who's considering, taking a leap of faith, whatever that is, to do it.
Especially
you learn so much about yourself when you go out and do something brand spanking new that you've never done before. And maybe there's no safety net, but at the end of the day, the benefit of it is whether you win, whether you're successful or you're failing at that thing, the underpinning is you always learn something about yourself, and that allows you to carry through. So I would encourage you to make the leap.
Continue to send your Ask Your Auntie questions. We like these questions. That was a good one. That was a different spin. We haven't had one I guess we haven't had like a family question like that in a while. So I appreciate that question. It got me thinking. Like I honestly have to think about the same thing. Like next decade, especially now that like I have like just like nieces and nephews, and it's just like I'm far away. And I knew what growing up without my uncles and aunts that close. I only had one uncle close to us growing up. Everyone else lived down south when we were in Michigan. So I already know what that experience is. And it's just like part of me is like, I don't want that for my nieces and nephews, but then how do I reconcile like me still living my life? It's emotional stuff that we're all dealing with. So that struck a chord with me. So thank you, Boo. Thanks for sending that.
Thanks, Boo.
Yeah.
And if you want to send a question in, send it. You can do aya@minoriteareport.com. If there's something that's come up while you're in quarantine, a crazy situation, like a little F buddy or something that's funny, or May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So if there's things you want to talk about in that regard, send us a question there. You could DM us as well on IG or Facebook or Twitter. We're accessible. So
no
send them over.
Question off limit, and it doesn't have to be as meaty, although we like the meaty ones too.
Right. We like a little
something
girth.
Small. Right. It could be small and mighty. What they say is that the size of the boat is the motion of the ocean.
And then sometimes you want both.
Right. Okay. Look, I want it all.
I want not or.
But at the end of the day, we're all going through stuff, and we don't want you guys to feel like you're doing it, you're going through it alone. So oftentimes a lot of people really relate to like these questions because we get hit up on the DMs or separately in our own inboxes like, damn, I was really dealing with that same thing too. So, if you guys are going through something, hit us up and ask a question, and, we'll put it on a new on one of our upcoming episodes.
Goes down in the DM. Goes down in the DM. Goes down. Sorry. Oh man. So we hinted on it earlier. We decided to like put it towards the back of the episode because it's such a heavy topic. But Georgia acting a damn fool right now. It was already acting a fool.
Yeah.
But it's acting a damn fool right now. So I'm sure everyone at this point have seen the clip, which is freaking
I saw the clip
disturbing.
Today.
Oh,
really
it's gonna
disturbing.
make me cry thinking about it.
I
did not
it,
see that.
It reminded me when I saw like.
Oh, you haven't
watched it.
So what we're talking about is the brutal murder of Ahmaud Arbery. I'm not sure exactly how to say his last name. Here in Savannah, Georgia. He was just out jogging down the street, and you see two trucks pull up. They get in like a little tussle. You hear them shouting, and then they shoot him. They just like point blank shoot him. And this is the crazy thing. This happened back in February. February
23rd.
And it's just now coming out. So couple things. Like they said they did it because there had been a burglary in the neighborhood. And they thought he looked like a suspect.
So it was a citizen arrest.
It was a
citizen arrest.
That's what they're claiming. That's what their lawyer is claiming.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a new spin, because that's a new spin that they put on. That wasn't their initial spin.
Right.
So they said they saw him looking into a house, and it was a house under construction. So everybody does that. Everybody looks at new houses, look in the window. Oh, that's a cute house, whatever. So this is not anything crazy.
Just did it today.
Seriously, like Corey and I do it. Like we always go look at new houses. Oh, that house for sale. Let's go look at it. And just run down the street. 25 years old. And so the weird thing is, this was hush hush for 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to know how the video was leaked, honestly. Thank you for that Good Samaritan. Whoever came to terms said, oh, I got to get this out because this is crazy. Because it looked like the video was from one of the trucks that was involved in the situation. And so a small town radio station here in Savannah, Georgia, leaked it, posted it, and then CNN got it, and then Sean King got it, and then it just blew up and things like that. So thank you to whoever leaked it. It's hard to watch, but it just shows again the issues in this country that have always been there. They've just been swept under the rug. And here it is. Luckily, we have the tools and the social media now to blow this up. Because if we didn't have IG and everything 10, 15 years ago, it wouldn't have blown up to this extent. And these guys would have very easily got away. Right now, they still haven't really been charged with anything. We'll see by the time this episode comes out if they do. But wow. It's literally another modern day lynching, and now we have the video to show what was happening back in the 1900s, the 1800s, the 1700s. This is what was happening all across the country, all day, every day, and it's still happening.
This reminded me a lot of Philando Castile. This reminded me of Philando Castile, though, because we saw the live stream because his girlfriend was Facebook Live, and we saw him get shot on Facebook Live, like. And guess what? Barely nothing happened. You know, like we have fucking proof of people murdering us as Black men, and we still can't have justice. We still can't have fucking justice. The one justice when it came is when it was a white woman who mistakenly thought it was her apartment. But she got like a few years. Like she didn't even get anything like
and the judge
crazy.
Hugged her.
Remember? And the judge hugged her. Okay, and the brother was like, "I don't wish you ill," and all this. It was
bullshit.
Well, I don't think it was bullshit.
I think it was bullshit. For me, it was bullshit.
Yeah.
For DeJuan Hawkins, that shit, all of that shit was bullshit.
I agree.
And I hope she got beat up in jail.
That part, okay, I'm fine with.
Look,
but like, I think they had to get it off of their being and their soul. So for however people have to grieve, whatever.
I would have waited for they got
I'm sorry. I'm
that they did, and then I would have came up to the jail cell like, "You got a visitor," and I would have visited, be like, "Now I forgive you. I forgive you now, deuces." I would have made sure I got the.
There is always this expectation for Black and brown people to forgive white people, but it's not the same expectation back.
That's true too.
And like, I'm I'm not down with that. Like that whole like, oh yeah, I forgive you and blah, blah, blah. Like I'm all for people forgiving for themselves, but like that fucking bullshit of like, as a judge, you're gonna get down from your bench and hug this fucking bitch who like shot somebody, you high on PCP and whatever fuck you was on, and you went to somebody else's like how many other criminals did you hug? How many black criminals did you hug that murdered somebody? That's what I want to know. So no, I think it's bullshit.
It is what it is, but I mean, it doesn't. I guess for me, it doesn't change the underlying of the issue. But however they grieve, however they react, that's on them. Like it has nothing to do with me of how I would react or want to react, et cetera, et cetera. And it also doesn't change the underlying that there's still a major issue of black men, brown women, black women, communities of color, minorities all as a whole, not getting the fair justice that they need in this country.
I'll tell you what.
Especially when you have proof like this.
Mark my words, people are getting fed the fuck up.
Absolutely.
And there's going to be a civil uprising in this country. And you see it. Like if you watch Twitter, if you see like what people are saying with every single one of these things that comes out, people are getting more and more fed up. Like, how is it that like 2 weeks ago we have like fucking white people like storming their courthouses with fucking AK-47s and all this kind of bullshit, but we have people who are jogging around getting gunned down, jogging. Like it was bad enough we had fucking, backyard barbecue Becky's fucking calling us for doing like having a barbecue in a park, but now you can't even jog without fear for your life. Like that's bullshit.
And the crazy thing, he was only 25. A lot of NFL players knew him because he was very good at football here in the state of Georgia. So a lot of the current like stars that are coming into the league now know him. And so when they saw this story pop up, they're like, hold on, we played in high school against him, or we like tried to go to college together, so it's going to get a lot more press than it probably normally would have, unfortunately, just because there's even higher profile people that knew him or grew up with him than the normal Joe Schmo that gets gunned down every day, kind of thing. It's sad. And it's sad to hear people still, their first question is, what did he do?
Yes.
Like, how can you justify, like, what is that
what
justified?
He did was be black. That's what he did.
Right, absolutely.
But what can justify shooting somebody?
Not down like that.
Yeah, like
in broad daylight at that. Too. Not it could be the middle of the night. It doesn't make a difference. But it's just like broad daylight like that. Chase this dude down in their trucks with like assault rifles and guns and shoot this dude down like that. And think it's okay and that they could get away with it.
That's the scary thing about it.
And the guy that shot him was an ex-cop. The father of the son that shot him is an ex-cop. So he
Which
was
is
right
probably
there.
Why they haven't been charged.
So it's just like there's so many layers to this thing that hopefully is even a little more eye-opening for the white community, honestly, because the black community already knew.
But it should be open to everyone. But it needs to be open. The truth is, it needs to be open to everybody. Like everybody needs to be paying attention to this, and everyone should be speaking up. Because the thing about equality is, like, if you can find if you can find racism, then guess what that means? Sexism exists. That means homophobia is going to exist. Like all these other isms are going to exist as long as there's even fucking one of them. So although you may not be able to relate to one, if an ism can happen to you, best believe it will continue to happen to you as long as there's any of them, period. So you should always be speaking up. You should always be sharing, and you should always be talking about the injustice that's happening to everyone, no matter the color of your skin, the sexual orientation, or your sexual preferences. Yeah. Like, your body size, your height, like none of it should ever matter. Your income should never matter for someone to treat you as if you're less than and you don't have the right because they are superior to you. That is bullshit.
Right.
And so everyone should speak up and community.
And I didn't want to make it sound like that we weren't speaking up. I was just saying that the black community has been speaking up.
Yeah, we're more aware of it than we're more aware of it.
Everyone to like be like, damn, okay, I just saw this motherfucker shot in cold-blooded murder. I got to do something, like, because my spirit is not sitting right.
Like, I mean, I ain't loud for no reason. There's always a purpose to the volume of my voice. Okay, so all you got to do is make sure you listen, and if you listen, I'll turn it down. So it's up to you.
Right, and you could go to Run with Maud, Ahmaud. So Run with Maud. .com there that has like scripts that you could talk to your congresswomen and men. It has petitions that you could sign. It has all the latest details on this website. So check that out. Please sign the petition. Please call your congresswomen and men because this is insane. We can't have another random person just gunned down like this.
Look, and
it's gotta stop.
And your governor just opened up your whole damn state, so you got all them crazies out driving around in their pickup trucks.
They was already driving before.
I'm just saying, like at the end of the day, now like instead of y'all being quarantined in y'all houses, now y'all driving around the streets.
Yeah. So that's one way. If you're sitting there thinking like, what can I do? That's one way you could do is check this website out, Run with Maud. And we have it on our IG. So if you need to get reminded, check our IG page out. We posted that today. Because that like I couldn't even watch the whole video. Like I honestly couldn't. Like,
I wouldn't watch it.
My soul.
I read the news.
The second I saw that dude jump out that truck, I was like, I can't do this. I can't see him get shot like this. And thank you to whoever.
I watched it. Yeah, thank you. I mean, I watched it and I watched all of it. But I think the reason why I watched it was more so because I wanted to, I don't want to say like film it. Like I truly felt like I could not speak the correct volume of the situation without seeing the video, without being able to say like, for sure, this is what I'm fucking talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then guess what? Like sometimes you don't have to, like you can learn from other experiences without having to go through it, you know? But I felt like this is one of those things where I had to. So when I'm mad, I have every right to be mad. And I wish a person would doubt me at all, but like, well, you don't know, like, oh, I know. I mean, you can't take away what I saw because it's hurtful and it's really fucked up. And honestly, I couldn't help but say a little prayer for the family because like, I couldn't imagine if that was someone I knew. Like when I saw that black man go down slowly in the way that he did, all the black men that I knew in my life started flashing before my eyes. And now I'm almost.
Oh, don't make me cry. You know I'm a heartbeat. Don't do it.
But you know, like, you know, I started seeing like my brothers, I started seeing some like my cousins, I started thinking about my uncle, my father, my grandfather, some of my, you know, my friends, you guys, you know, like.
It could easily be one of us.
It could easily be one of us.
Literally
easily be one of us.
Working on your fitness. You going for a fucking jog. Probably to clear your mind because this quarantine life is crazy.
Right. One of the few things you can do.
And that's what happened. Like, you can't even run while black now? Like, what in the world?
We can't walk while black because then bitches cross the motherfucking street. We can't run while black because all of a sudden we're stealing shit. We're up to something no good. We're looking like we can't be in Starbucks while black. We can't go to the pool. We can't go to
Walmart with a mask on.
We can't go to Walmart with a mask on. You can't go to the fucking park while being black.
I'm telling you, mark my words, there is a bubbling that's happening, and there's like if this shit does not get fixed, it's gonna be a problem.
It's wild. And I hate to that they're picking up.
It was last week, not last week, the week before last was the anniversary of the first day of the LA riots because of what happened with Rodney King. You know, and we're not gonna make the same mistake we did. Well, they did, and burn down our shit. We don't go. We don't go to your place. We gonna go to the Madison Avenues. We're gonna go to where your house is.
Right.
So let it be known. Y'all keep fucking with us if you want to.
Garcelle, get out of Beverly Hills. We're coming.
Right. Look, that's just burning down. It ain't no use in burning down a project. They learned from that lesson. We all learned from that. We're like, what the fuck they do that for?
Right. No, like, why we burning our hood down?
No, when it comes to riots, we bringing it to you.
Yeah.
So you Becky's.
Susans,
you Molly's,
Julie.
Be watching out.
Yeah, and It's yeah. I just hate to bring it up now. His shoplifting past. They're like, oh, he shoplifted once upon.
So
like,
he wasn't shoplifting, running down the street.
Stop it.
Sure, was not.
Stop it. Exactly. So
I remember when they did that with the man that was murdered by
his own house.
In his own house by the white
sleeping.
Female car. And and they were like, oh, he smoked weed. Bitch, what the fuck does that have to do with anything?
You broke into his house and you shot him. That's called That's murder. What is that? That's breaking and entering and murder, bitch. Yeah. You police officer.
Look, they always try to pat us with something. They always try to pat us with something to make us look less than.
Well, I ain't got a rap sheet. So I ain't got a rap sheet. So,
right, they ain't gonna get me.
You know,
I got shit. What? He was student council president. Oh, he got a full ride scholarship for.
Right. He got a B in. He got a B in sociology.
Right. He graduated summa cum laude. Whatever.
I'm gonna take people down with me.
I had my ropes. So what you gonna do today?
I'm telling you right now.
About me.
I'm gonna take some people down with me. Don't start. Don't start. I ain't gonna be by myself. You ain't gonna catch me slipping.
So yes, run with Maud. Runwithmaud.com. Runwithmaud.com. Go to it and tell your Congress people that we're not standing for this. We're not standing for this. Please do it. If your heart is hurt, your soul is shaken, that is at least one bare minimum thing that you can do easily while you're chilling on your phone on the couch watching Little Fires Everywhere.
Oh. I got a question for y'all. We're gonna do a subject change because it's one of the topics we want to talk about. But how would y'all feel if y'all was the class of 2020 right now?
Oh, I'd be sad a little bit, I think.
Would you? Would you? Okay, now there's two classes. Would you like high school class of 2020? Okay, what about college class of 2020?
Both. Okay.
If I was in high school, I think it would matter more than being in college.
Yeah, okay. It might be a more for high school.
For like college, all I need is my diploma. I just need to have that thing electronically mailed to me, and I'm good. Because college is all about getting a job.
Right.
But like high school is like it's a rite of passage in my view.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like you want that experience of like, you know, putting on the cap and gown, you know, taking pictures with your friends and your family, walking, hearing your name,
crazy, like,
right? Like you want that. In college, it's kind of like, I didn't put all this damn work in. I'm tired of like staying up to 4:00 in the goddamn morning. I'm tired of these motherfucking tests and these reports that I got to be writing. I just want this thing over with so I can start paying my tuition.
Paying these loans off,
right, and get a job.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, unless your college is Ivy League, or you're going to like medical school, you know, or somewhere where you putting that work in. Like if you in medical school, like if you're a veterinarian and you in school for 10 years, I want that. I want to be at that graduation.
I'm walking across this damn stage. I know that's right. I think of my sister because she's a vet, and the amount of school that she had to do
10 years
of her life. Right. I'm walking across this damn stage. Right. And y'all gonna see my ass walking across this stage.
I'm bringing money guns.
But yeah, like, it's tough. It's tough. And I honestly think about like the seniors that were trying, like, say, like track and field, trying to get that last scholarship for the year, or now like their college situations all effed up because they were banking on proving that they could get that last scholarship on the team or whatever. Or the first one that's graduating from college out of a family, or the first one that's graduating from high school from a family, or whatever it may be. There's a lot of just symbolism. Yes, at the end of the day, it doesn't mean that much. But in the moment, it means that you worked your ass off, and here's the symbolism of completing that task, you know? And that's sad in a little way. You know?
I guess I feel like I'm the only one who's just like, I don't care. I didn't care then.
No?
I didn't care then, and I don't care now. Like, and I even had to make a speech at my graduation, my high school graduation, because I was class president. So like, I had to make a speech and all this other stuff. Zero fucks. Like, I talked to one person on a semi-regular from high school, like, and by semi-regular I mean like we like comment or status or something like once a week from you know, on Facebook or whatever. But other than that, I really didn't care. Honestly, for me, I probably would care more about college, but I don't think I would care about the graduation because, again, for me, I found myself more post high school than anything else. That's where I found my adulthood and, coming into myself as a young adult. So as long as I get to have that experience, I'm good. I feel bad for those who are like in school and they're forced to like be online, because some people can't do online. I'm a bitch that can't do online. My ass there needs to be an attendance, and there needs to be a grade for attendance to hold my ass accountable. Because if the bitch is optional, she'll see you when you see it, and she'll get the clip notes. Okay, look.
But I mean, it's cool now.
We got the syllabus at the beginning of the fucking semester, so I know what's required from so I will make a plan that don't have my ass need to be in school. But some people are not online, and they might just be unfortunately struggling because now they are forced to do something that they're not used to, or that doesn't work for them per se. I feel bad for that.
I do think about the long-term impacts of like what's happening with this, like this quarantine, and like I read a news article from Forbes like a day ago talking about how they're like these big firms like Nationwide Insurance, Barclays. They're planning to go 90 to 96%
at home,
like work from home.
Yeah.
And these are companies that have like 7,000 employees. And so, like I for me, like intrinsically and theoretically, like I'm loving this idea because it opens up the door for so much. Like when you think about if you're going 90% remote, what does that mean for the people that you're hiring for your jobs? Like when you're looking for a job or you're looking to advance your career, you primarily look within the area that you can drive to. Like think about you, Kerel. You drive 40 minutes, 40 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes to work.
Easily. I wish it was 40 minutes.
And that's in Atlanta. But like, if you can get a job doing what you're doing for a company that's in Seattle and you're just working remotely, all you have to do is just get to the laptop. So like, I'm really appreciative of like, that's opening the eyes to like these corporations. What I'm wondering is, getting back to what we're talking about around like school, is like, what does it mean for schools? Because think about it. A lot of what you learn in school is all about, preparing you for these standardized tests so that they can get the funding. Well, the funding is really for the teacher salaries, the building, and all the, extracurriculars and all that kind of stuff. But if you don't have the amount of people that are actually physically in the building, what are you doing with that money?
And
so it may open up a really interesting perspective for
that's
like
with the teaching. And now I'm going to say, because with the teaching thing too, like, I mean, teachers are already underpaid, and the amounts of stuff that they have to pay for out of their pockets to do what they do in the classrooms, that's more money that the teachers deserve, and they still deserve it. And they should get even more. Like there shouldn't be a pay cut at all if this happens, But the thing that I think that will be hard is that there's a certain amount of like focus and dedication that comes from being in the classroom, especially with kids and children. Like when I think of like the high school, like for instance, my nephew, he's 10 years old, he's in the 4th grade. And when you don't have a teacher or someone who knows what you're doing, like he's working on math right now and geometry and stuff like that. Like if you don't have someone there who knows what they're doing, you're screwed. You just can't go to your teacher like you can in the classroom, So I feel like there are certain fundamentals in education that really should be face-to-face, because you need to have that person that understands. Everyone that as parents, unfortunately, don't have the same education level. So you have some people who just don't know how to help their kids with their homework. So what happens to those kids that have parents that they can't help them at home?
I think that the dynamic shifts. I have to answer this. I'm sorry. I just jumped right in. Kerel, go ahead.
I like this whole time just thinking, I just constantly think it's going to still could put a divide on the rich and the poor, honestly, because there's already people that can't afford high-speed Wi-Fi, so they're trying to find hot spots to have their kids be online schooling. Like I hear it here in Atlanta, like there's stores where literally the mom will wake up in the morning, drive to a hotspot from her cable box, like so Xfinity have these random hotspots because she can't afford quick enough internet at home, in the morning, have her kids sit in the car, try to do their schoolwork, yet she still has to work as well. So for me, I'm already thinking like there's going to be an even bigger gap between those who can afford stuff and those that can't. And like you're saying, like they might not be able to teach their kid like 5th grade math or 6th grade math or whatever. And it's just going to continue to widen that gap. And so that's where my mind goes. Just like, how do we make sure that these kids are
going upwards, the linear is going up. Yes.
That these companies are providing people that can't simply afford, especially now, people are getting laid off. You got to pick and choose. Be like, is cable really important? Is internet really important when we can't even fucking eat and that we might not even have a roof on our head? No. So I'm going to chop this $60, $70, $80, $100 bill that I have this month and we'll figure it out as we go. I might not have my cell phone bill anymore, you know? So that's what I constantly think in this thing is just like, how do we ensure the communities that are already struggling before COVID are left behind even more now that like 10 years from now, you only have a 5th grade education because of COVID and you know, so that's where my mind kind of goes more than anything. Yes, it sucks to not graduate, but there's families legit struggling and trying to figure out and prioritize what is what's number one on the list.
This is a humbling experience for everyone. Everyone should be able to be humble during this.
It's wild.
Go ahead, Dawon, baby.
I think so. I think a lot of industries are figuring those questions out. Like, and that's what's really interesting and what's exciting to me as I think about this. Like what's exciting to me is the opportunity because as the paradigm shifts from requiring you to physically leave your home to go to work in a call center, right? Where you can literally just dial in from home. Like that's one of the things that was interesting about this Forbes article is like, you know, I was talking about Nationwide and they have like so many people that work in their call centers and they have in this very short time figured out a way to route those calls so that people can work from home. I talked to a call center representative for, this other account or whatever, you know, just yesterday with another colleague of mine, you know, about some payroll stuff or whatever. And she, like, I'm literally talking to her and like, I hear a dog barking in the background and she's telling me, yeah, you know, our corporate, you know, call center is in this city, but I live in this city and whatnot. And we're all kind of like doing our social distancing thing and blah, blah, blah. Like what I envision happening, and I could be completely wrong about this, but you know, what I envision happening is one, for a lot of people that end up working from home, you're going to start seeing perks like your company picking up your internet bill.
I hope so.
You know, like it's as a means of doing business because it's cheaper for them to do that. It's cheaper for them to be able to do that than it is for, you know, them to pay for you to come and be in a physical building. They're realizing that the benefit of you working from home is actually saving them a shit ton of money. Well, ultimately save them a shit ton of money. So that'll have trickle down effects for the people that are, you know, that are struggling with their, you know, like, you know, accessibility. And to, you know, your question about Jerrell, about, you know, like people who learn differently, I deal with this every day. You know, I've been in the learning development space of HR. So HR, there's like benefits, there's compensation, there's learning, right? And part of my job is transitioning people away from traditional learning, which is I have to be in a classroom with somebody physically talking to me in order for me to learn. And all the research that has come out over the last 30 years is that that is the most ineffective way of getting your message across. Even though people love it, it is the most ineffective way of teaching because there's a lack of consistency. It's the most cost-effective. The least cost-effective way of delivering training to any person. And that applies to, you know, little kids. So
wait, that applies to kids too? How so?
To kids. It applies to kids because what we're teaching them is we're teaching them rote memorization. We're actually not teaching them to think. So if we're trying to teach people to think, we need to think differently about what the curriculum needs to really look like in order to engage their thinking skills, their comprehension skills, their deductive reasoning skills, in order for them to be fully functioning adults. But what we're doing is we're teaching them how to pass these, you know, kind of like standardized tests.
Right, but isn't that more of a curriculum thing than actual classroom thing though?
It is a classroom thing, and that's what I'm getting to. So like this idea that people, quote unquote, learn best because, let me take one step back and say that this is not a blanket statement to say that this applies to every single person. Everybody operates this way. There are clearly people that learn better in certain kind of environments, and you have to deal with those. If there's an outlier, you have a circumstance that allows you to deal with an outlier. But the vast majority of the information that needs to be disseminated towards people in large can be delivered in a very, very consistent manner. And so the notion that you have to physically be in school or you have to physically be in a classroom with a teacher in front of you in order to facilitate learning is a notion that comes from comfort, because that's what we know, not because of that's how people actually learn. Does that make sense?
I guess there's some truth to that, but again,
there's more than truth. There's studies.
Hold on, pause, because like you just said, it doesn't work for everyone.
Right.
So you 100%. Just said that. So now I'm going to talk about how I know it doesn't work for some people.
The outlier.
Okay. Well, look. Okay. And the reason why I do know that it does not work for some people, because you're right, because I think a lot of that is learned behavior, and I think it is kind of how you raise your children to understand how to focus and sit down and how they receive things, However, not every family is built to the capability where they have the time to do that. So a lot of people are going to fall through those cracks automatically. And that's why I think school is good, because for school, those who know how to focus, they will do just fine. And those who don't, that school brings that type of focus, can learn how to get there eventually. But if you take that away, those kids or that family, or for instance, like my sister, who is a single mother of 4, one being a 1-year-old, being the youngest, and to a 10-year-old who has to now teach 3 kids social distance learning by her goddamn self while maintaining a 1-year-old. That is not an ideal situation, and there are going to be people who are going to miss out on that. Whereas if there's a school and my sister could now take her 10-year-old, her 6-year-old to a school where someone else can help them get what she cannot give them, being a single mother of 4, those children automatically are going to be better than being at home. So there is a benefit from going to school that goes not just outside of whether a child can comprehend, but just also the family and the background of where people come from, that makes a huge difference. Yeah, that's something that the numbers she can't show you, because the circumstances can't be boxed like that for anybody.
Right. I don't think what you and I are saying are mutually exclusive. I never said that get rid of all the schools.
No, but you did, however, say that there are numbers that say that does not work as well, and that's why my argument is saying and mine is just saying that there is also living proof that it doesn't work outside of the numbers. Honestly, there are some things where you can say fuck numbers, because there's real life that those numbers can't catch.
And I'm
all I'm talking about is
this episode. I love it.
So that's why I said that what you and I are saying are not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, right.
When it comes to the knowledge transfer and the ability to teach someone, it's not exclusively proven that in order for that to happen, in order for someone to learn, it has to be in a classroom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Conversely, it is also not conclusively proven that everybody needs to be learning online.
Right. I mean, homeschooling works.
Right. And there are people that don't have the capability of providing the environment that allows for learning to happen, regardless of whatever their curriculum looks like. In my opinion, and I deal with this all day, every day, because this is my life. That's the reason I talk about me being in learning development, is because I have to have this conversation all the time. People automatically think that when we talk about online learning, it's okay, when we go to online learning, you shift the pendulum to go swing all the way to the left and everything's online. And I didn't say that word. I didn't say that needs to be the case. What I said is that historically and statistically, people learn best when you have a curriculum that you're able to deliver the information more consistently. That does not mean that all training, all education needs to happen online, because there are those instances where you need to be able to provide a space where people can go, and a space for people who need to learn differently. You need to provide that for available.
Because there are the 3 different types of learning.
Absolutely.
There are the 3 different types of learning.
And one of the things that you guys, I hope that you're getting from me is that I don't talk in absolutes. I don't say that it needs to be this or that. I'm usually saying it's this and that. It's, it can be this, and it can be this, and it can be this. And all these things can be true.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that. But what I was going to say, and I love that I was the auntie of grace this episode. I love you. And then
wait, did she say we need an element of grace in this? Did she say that?
Yes.
Did she say that? I missed all of that.
I was the element of grace this episode. But what I was going to say, even before we can determine if online learning is the best, in-person learning is the best, how to tweak the curriculum is the best, etc., there's still communities out there that online learning is not even an option because, like you said, as a single mom, I have to go to work. They can't stay their asses at the crib to be no kind of online learning because they need to be in school, to be watched, et cetera, et cetera. So that's hopefully, yes, technology is going to literally take off. It's going to be inevitable. The data is going to show it. But I hope and pray, and we need to put this out there now, that because I know we have some teachers and some principals and everything that listen to the podcast, when you are deciding the future of education now, because that's literally where we're at that pivot point, that crossroad in the road, to remember that there's still homes and families that are not connected to high speed, that do not have the ability that some of the more well-off families have to stay at home to learn. It's just
someone
not
needs
there.
to what's her name?
So
Betsy DeVoe? Betsy DeVoe, that's her name, right?
Don't even bring her up.
Someone needs to email her ass right now. Just
No,
make sure she knows.
No, we don't.
You can take Betsy, and she can go run a hot dog.
I grew up in
look.
Michigan, so Betsy was all in Michigan when I was going through high school and everything.
But one of the things
and I'm saying she doesn't know.
I'm saying
email her so someone reminds her. That's what I'm saying.
I ain't talking to that lady at all. She don't need to get no emails from nobody. She needs to take her ass home and have several seats. Thank you.
That too.
But I that's my hope and prayer is that once again, because we see it time and time again in this country, when we have these major shifts to whatever it is, there are communities, and most times they are minority communities, whether it be Black, brown, whether it be gay, whatever it may be. Those are the communities that always have to figure a way to fend for themselves. And I hope that we are proactive enough to foresee that it's going to happen again, and we have an opportunity to stop it now. How do we make sure that all these communities are growing and get an opportunity to grow with technology that comes out of this?
Vote.org. That's where we start.
Absolutely.
Vote.org.
Absolutely.
Just to clarify, you know, the whole reason why I was interested in exploring this conversation a little bit further is because I'm excited about the opportunity that this brings for us to build into. The reality of it is that tomorrow, next week, and next year, we are not going to be there. We're not going to be in a place where, like, oh, somebody's going to say, you know, Betsy DeVos is going to have some kind of like legislation, which she doesn't have the authority to do so because it's all driven locally.
Right.
So no one's going to be able to say, as of 2021, all school is going to be online. However, this does present the opportunity for us to think, us meaning them, you know, who design curriculums, who think about the total schooling experience,
and
whatever,
us, because we're voting these people in.
Right, but again, to think more broadly about what the experience can be, and then how do we build into that? And the reason I brought the Forbes article in there is that large companies are already starting to trying to plan for and figure out some of that stuff now. Knowing that we have the logistics and the capability doesn't necessarily mean that you automatically turn the switch on and it's going to be that situation come day one. You have to build into it. So for me, it's exciting because it can provide real opportunity for people that really need it. If you have, you know, the capability of sending your kids off to school or keeping them at home with you, having the option between those is great than not having the option.
No, not necessarily.
And that's what really excites me.
But if we talk about jobs going remote, though, you know how many people, and y'all don't have kids, but talk to y'all people who got kids that are also working from home. You know how many conference calls I've been on where you hear a kid being, mommy, and they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, you guys. Oh my gosh, go away. You know, like there is a certain type of conflict that happens when that comes. Like both of them have their positives, but they also have their negatives in certain ways. I agree with you as far as like the business side for adults. I think that's great because honestly, I think of my like parents being able to, I work from home, cool, I'll clock out real quick, go run to pick up my sick kid at school, and I'm gonna be right back, and I can just work from home and I don't have to go back to an office. Like things like that allow parenting to be better, you know? But when it comes to having to teach your child while at home, while working. Because again, mind you, these teachers, these schools aren't giving them the homework at 5 p.m. or 8 p.m. No, they giving them during the damn day where the parents also got to work. So where these parents are supposed to sit with their kid for 7 hours in a day and then also work 8 hours at the same time.
Jerrell, I'm not disagreeing with you.
I think the assumption would be that
I'm not disagreeing with you. What I'm saying is,
hold on, let me hop in.
Because it's my point, okay. And my point is, my point is
our point, because I was picking on my end,
right?
So but I'm just coming from my end,
right? And I'm saying I'm not disagreeing with you. I think that there are obviously going to be parents that will have different circumstances, and it would be great. What I'm excited about is the opportunity for those parents that want to take advantage of an on-school environment for their kids. Mm-hmm. They have that opportunity.
And I'm just saying the opposite. Yin and yang. Right. You have and I'm just saying the other side of the coin. So you can keep flexing your side, baby. I hear you. I don't disagree. We see each other. You just look at it as from your perspective, and I see it from mine. Like, because there has to be give and take on both sides, you know. I was
gonna wrap it up and bring it together for you, but
right, like there's your side.
Since I can't get in there, for the sake of time, for the sake of time, I think you both have valid points.
Right.
I think what's going to be the struggle is honestly, once again, it's just that gap of not everyone is going to be able to do online, and that's what we got to figure out. We got to figure out. Okay, we have these great innovations that are coming, because I agree, I'm excited about the opportunities. I always love these little situations because it's just like we get pushed forward. It forces us to get pushed forward. However, anytime we get pushed forward, which is I think what Jerrell is saying, is there's always people that get left behind that people are not thinking about and not setting up the situation to help them as well. So we got to find whatever that is to ensure that everyone, at least 99.9%, hopefully, get pushed forward, instead of saying, oh, it was a great opportunity for 2% of us. Or, because thank you, God, that I'm blessed in a situation that I'm going to get pushed forward. I can afford to get pushed forward. But that doesn't mean that I am not aware that there's still quite a few people that are single parents or whatever it may be that will not have the opportunity to get pushed forward. So I think that's what both sides are trying to say right there. But for the sake of time, we're almost at the end of the episode. Insecure real quick. We got about 10 minutes to talk about Insecure.
Oh, damn, we that far in the episode already?
Bro, we're like an hour 42 in.
How?
Houseway, we got it.
Right.
Dawon's looking like he's not happy with that conclusion, but that's okay, girl. We'll be fine. Insecure, what'd you think? Who wants to go first?
I don't know. I thought the episode was okay.
It was kind of like a filler episode, it felt.
Yeah. I was like, oh, okay, sure. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I didn't feel any sort of kind of way with it. Like, I don't know. I really didn't like how Molly is jumping to conclusions when she saw Lawrence and Issa outside like that. And then when Issa was like, I gotta go, she was like, I'm sure. Like, I hate people that assume. If you got a question. She's forcing
the narrative the way she wants it to be.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was real cool that that dialogue between like her and the guy she's seeing. Like, I hate saying Asian babe, but you know, like
I hate saying him. Is it Andrew?
Andrew. Yeah, Andrew. Yeah. Andrew. I like that the dynamic for once it was a woman who's too busy for the man versus like the man being too busy for a woman. Like you quite often see that in TV shows. But I mean, other than that, I just thought it was all right.
I feel like it was an episode to propel the rest of the season. Like you always have those 1 or 2 episodes in any series or any seasons where you're like, okay, that was it wasn't a throwaway episode because you need it to propel you to the next thing, but it wasn't as earth-shattering as the first maybe 3 episodes were. To me, Kelly's still the star. Every scene she is in, there's just a heightened sense of improv, a heightened sense of hilarity, a heightened sense of clarity, a heightened sense of you could do whatever you want in that scene because that actress is that good to me. Like they even had that little moment of, oh girl, why don't you just talk to her? Like she calmed down the funny part of it.
She was like,
and actually provided like
she like, you slept with Andrew?
Right.
I can't believe you did that. And I was like, how you jumped to the worst? Right. Like, no, I didn't think whatever.
Like, no, I didn't do that. So I love every scene with her. I'm trying to think what else. It's going to be interesting, just the dynamic of a Lawrence and Issa, though, even though I don't think there's anything there right now. And I think Molly is jumping to conclusions. It's interesting, and I know we were going to try to talk about this, but we probably save it for another day because we actually have a good Ask Your Aunties in the queue, just about being friends with your ex and things like that. It's going to be interesting how that dynamic comes about and where they decide to take that. Do they fall back in love, or is it literally they are cool, calm, and collected, and they can get along, and it gives them that closure that they need to go to these other relationships and thrive, you know? So it'll be interesting what they do there. It's going to be interesting what they do when, because I still think that baby ain't Tiffany's husband's. So it's going to be interesting.
Wait, how? Did I miss something?
Remember, end of season
That's a Twitter theory.
End of season 2, he said that Tiffany, I'm trying to remember the scene now. They said that Tiffany was somewhere with the girl. They said they were with Issa and the girls watching whatever that show was that season, and she wasn't there. And so there's something behind the scenes that Tiffany was doing that we still don't know the clarity of. And then the next season, she popped up pregnant. So we need to find out if that was the baby or not. Because even in the room, he's like, "Do you think that baby looked like me?" And Lawrence is like, "Yeah, it looked like you." Da, 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 da. So I think they're giving us these little nuggets here and there to say like, "Oh, maybe there is a possibility it ain't."
He actually said the baby looked like Kelly.
Oh, right. They said the baby looked like Kelly.
Oh, that's right. Lawrence, Lawrence
and
Issa did say that.
Like
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. So that was a little funny moment. So it'll be interesting on that dynamic. But yeah, I felt like it was kind of a filler episode. And I can't wait. Well, by Monday's episode, it'll be already on yesterday. But I'm looking forward to episode 5. Dawon, what you thinking, girl?
I didn't find it to be a filler episode at all. I felt it was really, I thought it was really poignant because what it did was helped explain and provide context to the conflict that we know is coming.
Right.
And that's pivotal. Like, I love the fact that, the writers spend time exploring the complexities of these real relationships. I love the fact that they show these characters as flawed human beings that are funneling their way through life, not making the right decisions. And it's easy for us to sit on our sofas and watch this and be like, oh, they shouldn't have done that, or she shouldn't have did that, or she should have said that, or, blah, blah, blah. But the reality of it is that they're living their lives. And we're just watching it unfold, and they're doing it in a way that feels authentic and relatable, and people get pissed about it. And I love that people get pissed about it, and I get pissed too, because it's like, it's real shit, and we might not like what Molly's doing. There's like a whole bunch of people that don't like what Issa's doing. I'm part of this.
Dawon be on them insecure groups on Facebook, by the way. That's how he said people get pissed.
After the Game of Thrones one, Dawon, I couldn't do insecure. Look, the Game of Thrones one effed me up. I was like, no, because you can easily get down the rabbit hole because people be commenting, going back and forth.
I joined it, but I was mad because right now on Sunday nights I'm watching the Michael Jordan documentary, which runs into Insecure. So I don't watch Insecure till Monday, and that should be lit on like Facebook. So I can't scroll on my Facebook on Monday because people are already talking about. I'm like, oh no, I'm like, I need to get out this group because y'all about to spoiler alert for real.
I literally don't look at social media Sunday night until Monday.
Yeah, I gotta go to like after work on Monday now. Because the Michael Jordan.
That's a long time. That's a long time to be waiting.
Girl, first thing I do on Monday morning is if I'm not watching something like, because I have Insecure and I have Westworld, and I'm not watching both of them. So
I need your help because I want to get into Westworld so bad, sis.
It's so good,
honey. That first season is just so hard for me to get into. I'm just like. And now I see like bitches are like out of the world and into the real world. I want to get into it, but every time I've tried it, I'm like.
Without spoiling it, all I'll say is season 1, there are multiple timelines happening. So some things are happening in the past, and some things are happening in the present, and some things are going to happen. That's all that I'll tell you. when you watch all the episodes, because it has all the character development. Once you get to season 2, it explains it all.
Okay, so it's almost like a Game of Thrones where you have
to
the
get
first
through season
and okay.
You have to
I
get
got
through
it
season
in me.
1.
I have now tried Westworld 6 times. I can't tell you how many times I've watched the first 3 episodes. I can tell you everything that happens in the first 3 episodes. 4 or 5.
Just watch
a little blurry.
Just watch the rest of them. All you have to get to, just watch the whole first season. If you're up to episode 6 or 7 or 8 or whatever, just watch the rest of them. By the time you get to episode 2 of the second season, it explains all of that and then built in more.
But I see, for me, I feel like I have to juggle so much though, like because of the multiple timelines. Like it took me a couple times because I was like, wait. What about this dad?
All it's doing is just giving you the motivations for who these people are. That's it.
Oh, y'all better hope they don't cancel Westworld because you would be really pissed there. No, Westworld is not on my list. I know y'all have watched Hollywood. We'll talk about that probably next week. I'm on episode 2 of Hollywood, so we'll see if Dawon blames it on Ryan Murphy or not. So that's a little tease for next week. What else is on my list right now? You know what I finally did? I know we're running out of time here. I finally finished Scandal last week. Finally finished Scandal last week. That shows you.
Throw this laptop away.
Y'all are TV.
Okay, just like
y'all are TV.
Don't forget to subscribe, download.
That's like somebody said, "I'm 35 and I just watched The Wiz for the first time in my life." Like, come on now.
I don't watch TV like y'all. Like, I'm not a heavy TV dude. So, like, I was finally like, okay, I got to finish this last season. So, finally finished that, and it ended horribly.
Very.
It was very anticlimactic.
The problem with Scandal was that it was not. They were not sure. I think it was like, I can't remember what season. It was like the season before the last season when Kerry Washington was going through like that. All of that, like she got abducted, and
that was like season like 4 or something.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like whatever that season that was in the writer's mind, that was like their last season because they weren't picked up for the next one. So they were writing it.
Oh, so damn! They got 3 more seasons after that. Shit.
So they got a couple more seasons after that.
Yeah,
so
it
that
wasn't
that season made me want to fight somebody. I was like, "Are you? She ain't gonna." Don't
you
even
know
start.
Who was the best actor of that show to me? The dad. Kerry Washington's dad.
Oh, he was phenomenal.
He's amazing.
I don't know why he never got nominated anything.
He played Whitney. Was it Whitley Gilbert's father, or was it her love interest? No, it was his love interest. Whitley Gilbert's
different world.
In a different world. Yes.
I'm gonna have to go back and look at that.
Go back and look. I'm telling you. I'm going on Hulu after this podcast.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look up the different world. I'm gonna try and find that episode.
Throwback moment.
Yeah, and he was also in a movie. It was called
he was in some
A Brother from Another Planet.
Oh, see that? I don't know. Is that a black? That sounds like a black movie.
No, it was a sci-fi movie about this alien that came to
Brother from Another Planet
or whatever. You look that one up. That's a good one.
He was in something recently
too.
Amazing
actor.
Killed it. Yeah. So I was like, how he never get nominated for nothing? Like every scene he's in, you're like, this motherfucker acted.
Yeah,
it was funny, and it was
like a lot of.
And it was funny to see him in Grace and Frankie because he played like the gay friend in Grace and Frankie.
Oh, did
he? When I think it was like season 1 when everything went down and they went to brunch, whatever. Like he was like the male friend that went to brunch with Jane Fonda and their other friend. Okay. But I was just like, this man is talented. He plays it all.
Right.
Like I'm here for it.
Daddy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I finished that. I finished Schitt's Creek. Last season's great. Little Fires Everywhere we watched. That was great. But other than that, like it's hard for me. It's hard for me and Corey to like agree on what show we both want to watch.
That's tough.
Like, like the few nights a week that like we're both home and not doing anything. By the time we figure out what we both want to watch, we're like, shit, it's time to go to bed, then, girl.
Right.
So it's hard for us to like really sit down and watch anything. So like, I know he's not going to want to watch a Westworld. He's not going to want to devote the time to that, and I probably won't even devote the time to that because if it's like a Game of Thrones. We didn't get into Game of Thrones. We know that previous episodes, community, if you ever heard. So I don't know what next. I do want to watch the Becoming documentary by Michelle Obama. What else is coming up? I feel like there was something else that was coming out that I was like, that I texted you guys that I was like, ooh, I want to watch. Oh, that Jordan Peele show.
Oh, that looks like
one.
something country or like
like some Maryland country or something country, and it's like
yeah,
aliens mixed with like a timepiece with racism.
It gave me like a black Stranger Things, like an adult black Stranger Things.
That was weird.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm into that.
See that.
There's if you guys are if you're interested in something that's a little off the wall, but it's like really meaty. It's only one season, but it's called Servant, and it's on Epix, which you can get through like Apple or whatever. It's usually free.
Dawon watch TVP all the way on Epix.
It's amazing. It's basically, and I'm not giving anything away, but basically there is a family that has a newborn child, and they hire this nanny who's from like Iowa or whatever, and it comes to find out that she's part of like some kind of like cult community or whatever, and she's watching the baby, and then the family has experienced a specific kind of trauma related to the baby, and that's all I'm gonna say. Okay. I burned through all episodes in like 2 sittings. It was really? So damn good.
Okay, I just hope this quarantine get the Watchmen writer to change his mind and give us a season 2. That's what I hope.
How? Right? You're gonna see all the actors been in green screens because they're filming from their own homes.
Right. It's like,
but still it's been renewed because right now they're not renewed for a second season. So
yeah,
I just want them
to do it.
He didn't want to do a second season. I just want them to do a second season.
I just want him to sit at home and be like, you know what? I got a storyline now.
That would be great.
I just needed time.
And Insecure was renewed for season 5. So
they're already in the writers' room.
Yeah.
I see it on IG.
I ain't gonna lie. I low key peeped the one white person in the writers' room.
Diversity, growth.
I was like, yes. Inclusiveness, yes.
Absolutely. But all right, well, community, thanks for rocking with us. Another long episode. We're giving you some long episodes in quarantine. Yes. Hopefully you're enjoying it. Mm-hmm. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to download. Be sure to like. Be sure to tell your friends, your neighbors, your aunties, your uncles, your cousins, because they ain't got shit else to do. Instead of watching all these shows we just told you to watch us on YouTube. How about that? And I think that is it.
You guys have a great week. Thanks for rocking.
Bye, community.